All right, welcome back to video number 2 of this series, and today we're going to take a look at system preferences and what they do. Located in your dock, wherever that might be, is going to be this little gear icon that we see right here. And we're going to click that, and that's going to bring up system preferences. Now this window doesn't get any larger, so we're going to go ahead and zoom into this so we can see what's going on. The first thing that we see up here is what you use to log on when you set up your computer. You're going to have your Apple ID. And in this case, I have family sharing turned on as well. Family sharing is going to allow you to do things like if you buy an app from the App Store, let everybody in your family use that app instead of having to buy it 3 or 4 times. The next thing that we have here is general, and we're going to go ahead and select general. Now, this is going to allow you to customize or set up the way your computer looks. So you notice mine's on dark. We've got this dark gray look here. We've got highlight colors of blue. I can switch this to highlight colors of purple. I can do yellow, anything that I want to do. I'm just going to go ahead and leave mine on the default, which is blue. You can set your computer so it uses a light. So we have a light background, a dark background, or auto. So auto is going to recognize that it's daytime here where I am, so it's going to use the light. Then when it's at nighttime, it's going to switch over to the dark view. I'm just going to go ahead and leave mine on dark because that's what I use. You can control the sidebar on your computer. Now the sidebar is located over here. So basically what we're going to do is change this to large, and it's going to make those items a little bit larger. If I change this here, it's going to make them a little bit smaller. Right here, we have automatically hide and show the menu bar. So if I turn this on and off, this menu bar is automatically going to hide and show. In this case, I don't want that. So we're going to leave the menu bar open because this is something that I access all the time. Scroll bars. So how do we want scroll bars to work? So to show the scroll bars, to show scroll bars only when scrolling or always. So I have mine automatically based on the mouse or the trackpad. But you can set this up however you want. You can try all of them to see which one you like the best. Click in the scroll bar. This is something that I don't ever actually do, and that's going to automatically let you jump to the next page. The next is default web browser. Now, when you get the computer, this is going to be set to Safari, but I've changed mine to Google Chrome because I don't use Safari. Next thing here is ask to keep changes when closing documents. I don't want that to pop up all the time, so I'm not going to access that. But if you're new, that can be helpful. To close windows when quitting an app, so you can select that to do that or not do that. Recent items. So if you come up here, it's going to give you recent items. And how many of those recent items do you want it to remember? So you can change it to 10 or any of those other numbers. Allow handoff between this Mac and your iCloud devices, so it's going to allow you to talk between the two. Look, I don't use a lot of iCloud devices or options in there, but I do have mine turned on. Use font smoothing when available. So we'll click on this and go out of that, and we're going to switch on over to desktop. Now we'll come over here and click on desktop since we're on screensaver. So this is where I set up this picture of myself and my daughter at Cherry Springs National Park. Now you can add photos or put photos in pictures and select those. So I can come in here to the pictures folder and select something. I can go to the desktop, but I don't have anything on my desktop. I can select colors, or I can come up here to general. Now by default, it uses dynamic pictures. When you get your computer, you're going to see this dynamic picture if you have Catalina, depending on what OS system that you're using. The way they work, if it's light outside, the picture is going to be light. If it's dark outside where you live, it's going to show the image dark. And as the light changes during the day, so does this picture. All right, if you want it to change pictures all the time, you can click here, or you can do a random order. If you want to add a new folder or a different location that it might have images or something that you want to use for a screensaver, feel free to do it right there. The next is screensaver, and that's this little thing here that makes different pictures move around when you don't use your computer. I don't actually use the screensaver. I use my computer and have it go to sleep. So you can say it's going to start after 20 minutes, but in my case, I have my computer go to sleep in 15 minutes. So in this case, screensaver is basically never going to turn on my computer. You're better off putting your computer to sleep than you are using a screensaver. The next thing is the dock, and this is one of the first things you saw me change. So we're going to go ahead and click this little button to turn this off, and bam, right there is my dock. Now, normally your dock is going to be located down here at the bottom of your screen, and you can control the size of your dock by simply sliding this bar here. You can also change the magnification. The way magnification works is you hover over an image or an icon in the dock, it gets larger. If I move this all the way to the left, and then I hover over it, nothing happens. Well, why? Because it's not magnifying it. I could also just turn that off in that case. But if I slide it all over to the right, it's going to make it as large as possible. So as you go through your dock, it's going to show. So what would be the use in this? Well, maybe you have a little teeny tiny dock, and then when you hover over it, it's going to show you the giant icon so you can be sure as to what you are selecting. In this case, I'm just going to make mine kind of big. I'm going to reduce this a little bit, and I'm going to switch mine back to the left, but you can do the left, the bottom, or the right. So minimize windows using the genie effect. So if I click on this, see that little effect when it opens and when it closes? That's the genie effect. You can switch it to a scaled effect. Prefer tabs when opening documents. So it's going to have a tab here, a tab here, a tab here. So it's going to allow me to open multiple tabs. So if I was to hold the command dial and click on something, it's going to allow me to have tabs. So let me come over here to my Finder and we'll do this again. So we've got the Finder right here. If I want to open AirDrop, I can hold the command key, click on that, and it's opened a tab. So this is what it means by tabs. In this case, I have mine prefer tabs when opening documents in full screen only, but I could switch it to always or manually, whatever you want. Truthfully, it's not something that I use a lot, but those are your different options. Minimize windows into an application icon. Now, normally when you close something, you can see right here, OBS went into its own window down here. When I minimize it, you could have it so it minimizes up here into the application. So instead of going down here, it's going to go up here. It's up to you. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. Animate openings of applications. So if you want that effect, you can go ahead and click that. So to hide and show the dock, which is something that I use, we'll turn that back on in a second. Show indicators for open windows. That means if you look at all these different applications, they're all open right now and they have a little tick mark next to it. That's what that's referring to. And show recent applications in dock. So if I open up an application that I don't normally use, it's going to show it down here and it's going to keep it up there for a short period of time in case I need to go back into it. I'm going to go ahead and turn my dock on hide and show, and we're going to click back on system preferences. Mission control. Now mission control does some cool things, but it also can be a little bit confusing for new users. Automatically rearrange spaces based on the most recent use. And what this is doing is just when you can hit quick keys and allow all your windows to basically open so you can see the different ones. But I'm going to show you some different ways to switch between applications and open windows to make sense. So let's first open up a couple of windows here just so this makes sense. So what I'm going to hit is the function key. You just can't hit F11 on your computer. You actually need to hit the FN button and then F11, and it's going to show or make all your windows disappear or all your windows show. All right, so let's close these windows out. I'm just going to minimize all this stuff for right now. And basically what this is allowing you to do is change how it's going to work. If you want to hide and show the desktop, notice I had F11 select. I can select something different or any different quick key command. I can also come over here and switch it to different mouse buttons if I have them available. That's all that's allowing you to do. So if you want to activate mission control, this is what you're going to hit. If you want application windows to come up, you're going to hit this. In this case, I don't really use these. I use something called hot corners instead. So we're going to go ahead and select that, and that's going to bring up this little window. And we're definitely not going to use this one because I don't want to put my computer to sleep when I'm actually trying to screen record. So we're going to skip that. But basically, if I go all the way down here to the right, it's going to put my computer to sleep. I basically don't have to come up here to the Apple and go to sleep. All I need to do is go into that area. And to set those, you would just simply come in here and select something and add that to your selection. So if I want mission control to come up, I can come up here and it's going to bring up the ability. So you can see right here, I can add a second window. You can have multiple windows that you're using on a computer. So you can have this set up on one window and then something else set up on another window. We're not going to use that, so we'll just go ahead and click here. The next thing that we have is application windows. And this is going to be very similar to bringing up the dock since it's hiding and showing. But basically I can go into that corner. It's going to bring up the dock so I can see my different applications. It's doing the same thing. Hide and show is my dock. I can just hover it, but sometimes it doesn't come up. So it's easier for me just to go hot corner and definitely make that pop up. So a lot of times when you're in full screen mode, it can be a little bit difficult to get your dock to pop up. You kind of have to hover over there for a second. So by doing that hot corner, it definitely brings it up much quicker. I don't have anything in the top left-hand corner because I could definitely set it as well. And that is how you set up hot corners on your computer. We'll go ahead and click this and remove it. And we're going to click back out of that. The next thing that we have here is Siri. And my Siri's already been set up, but basically it's going to walk you through a little program. It's going to have you talk to it so it gets used to your voice. Now, Siri can be used on a variety of different tasks. You can tell it to find one of your files. You can dictate a note. You can check on the weather. You can ask it whatever you want. So it's using artificial intelligence to search the web and find out that information. Next thing that we have is Spotlight Search. And this is going to allow you to set where Spotlight Search can look. If you want to have any privacy settings, you can set them there. Or if you want to change the keyboard shortcuts. Now, by default, this is using Command Spacebar. So if I hit Command Spacebar, you can see Spotlight Search pops right up. Those are your different keyboard shortcuts, and you can set these up for a variety of different tasks as well. The next thing is simple, just your language. You're going to set up whatever language you're using. Notifications. We've talked about notifications. They were up here, right? So you'd click on this and your notifications would pop up. Anything that you want to activate to allow to notify you, you can select it here or you can turn it off and you can control when or how that works over here. This will also work for calls. So if you have your phone hooked up, you can actually answer a phone call right from your Mac. You don't even need to pick up your phone. The next thing that we have are internet accounts, and those are simple. This is where you would set up any internet account. If you wanted to add something that isn't available, you just go ahead and click the plus. If you want to remove an old one, you would just select it and then hit minus. Users and groups. So what this means is if you have multiple people using the computer, they can have their own access. So instead of me logging in as myself, my wife or significant other could log in under their name. We will just say that that person's name is Peggy. Peggy would have her own user account. And when she would log in, it would have her own Finder bar, which is different from mine. It might have a completely different desktop picture and everything would be optimized for her. It wouldn't give her access to my stuff and me access to her stuff. And if you have children, you can set up limitations as well as when they log on in as to what access to different parts of the computer. So if you don't want them to have access to installing applications, you can turn that off. So they need an administrator password to actually install that applications. That way you can make sure you limit what they do. Accessibility. Now, this isn't something that I have set up, but basically if you have vision, hearing, or motor skill issues, this is where you can set up your computer to help you in those situations. And if you need more help on them, I actually don't know anything about it and how to use them. So I'm sure there's videos out there that can go over those specific topics. Screen time. This is pretty simple. If you want to limit someone's screen time, you have a child, you don't want them playing games more than 3 hours a day, you can set this up here. I don't have it set up because I'm the only one using this computer. I would hit continue and it would allow me to set up screen times for myself or specific users. Any extensions that you have, it's basically going to show the different extensions here. But in this case, there's basically nothing really that you need to set up. This is just showing your extensions that you're using on your computer. Security and privacy. Now, this is going to pop up all the time, especially on the newer operating systems here on a Mac. So anytime you install something, a new program, it's going to ask you if you want to give it access to certain areas of your computer. And sometimes you're actually going to have to come in here and log in and specifically manually give it access. All right. So here's all the different options. So if I'm going to give something access to my microphone. So right now I'm using OBS and I use Zoom to teach. So I need to give them access to my microphones. So I'm turning that on. Basically, you would unlock this, you would type in your password, you'd come in here, click the box, and then lock it back up, and then you'd give it access. And so anything that you need to give your computer access to is going to be located right here. The next thing is for software updates. So if you had a software update, you'd usually see a little red icon letting you know you need to update it. Then you come over here and it would tell you what the update is. If you want to do it, you can update it. You can do it later, whatever you want. Right here is your network. So in this case, I'm using Ethernet, but I also have my Wi-Fi connected, and any other different types of items that you have connected to your computer that you might use, you can set up here. So you can add them, control them, do whatever you want. If you're using VPN, this is going to be the location where you would set up VPN. Bluetooth, so we can click here on Bluetooth. These are the different items that I'm using. This is a Bluetooth speaker. Anything that uses Bluetooth, you can turn this on to make Bluetooth discoverable so that those Bluetooth items can connect to your computer. Once it's set up, you'll see them pop up over here. Sound, so I'm going to go ahead and click on sound. Right now I'm using an integrated amplifier. That's what this Complete Audio 1 is. This is if I want to use just my iMac phone. You can control your input volumes. You can see my volume as I'm talking right here. Here is where I'm setting my output volume. And we have settings for output and sound effects. Next thing that we have are printers. Now, you're most likely not going to have to come into this location. When you install software, it's going to automatically usually do this for you. But if you do need to come in and work on a printer or change something, this is where you're going to have access to it. So if I was to not use this Brother printer anymore, I could simply click on it, click minus, and remove that. Next thing that we have is keyboard, and that's where this little guy up here comes in. By default, that does not show. So we're going to come up here to keyboard, and you'll notice it says show keyboard in emoji viewer and menu bar. If I turn that off, he's gone. If I turn it back on, and it's right where that little flag is, it comes up. And what this little guy does is actually pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and go to keyboard viewer because this is the one that I use most of the time. A lot of times you get to an issue where you're typing something and you get a weird symbol and you have no idea what that weird symbol is. And usually those weird symbols are toggled when you use your option key on your keyboard. So I'm going to hold option and notice my keyboard change. So here are all those crazy weird symbols that you can use. So right here is the copyright symbol. If I let go of option, it is G. So that means to get the copyright symbol, I need to hit option G to get that to pop up. So when I'm typing, all I need to do is hit option and G, and I'm going to get the copyright symbol. And if I want to get any of these other symbols, it's going to be option and whatever key that is located on your keyboard. So that gives you quick access. Okay. So that's a really cool function. You can also come up here and do a quick access to emojis and symbols, which I don't actually use, but here's all the different emojis and symbols that you see. Under keyboard, we also have some other options. So text, some of our shortcuts, and a lot of this is just nestled into different items that we've already seen, input sources and dictation right here. So if you wanted to change anything on dictation, it would be in this location. The next thing is trackpad. No, I don't have a trackpad set up, but if I had one, I would turn this on and this would allow me to configure it. The mouse. Now I'm not using an Apple mouse. I'm actually using a Logitech mouse. So in this case, this is what I'm getting access to on my Logitech mouse. I've increased my track speed. I can control my scrolling speed. I can control the speed at which I need to double click for double click to work. My primary mouse button is my left button. If you are using an Apple mouse, there's going to be an option somewhere in here to tick to allow a right click. By default, the Apple mouse doesn't have right click activated. You would need to hold control and left click to do a right click. However, all Apple mice can actually right click. You would just use your middle finger or another finger on the right side of your mouse and it will right click. But you need to turn that on first. In this case, I'm using Logitech. It actually has a right click button, so I just right click that so I don't have access to it. Displays. Now my display is going to be set up quite different from most other people. Under display, I have default and my brightness is right smack in the middle. My brightness is something that I'm never going to change, and I'm not going to change it right now because it's calibrated. When you calibrate your monitor, the one thing you don't want to do is change your luminance value or your brightness. So I can also turn this on to automatically adjust my brightness. And what that means, as your room conditions change, it's going to change the brightness so it's consistent. True Tone is sort of doing the same thing, but in this case, it's changing the colors to make them appear consistent. So it's changing the colors. So one's brightness, one's colors. Neither one of these I use because I need mine to be very specifically done. So right here under color, you can see by default, most people would be using iMac. In my case, I have a custom profile and that's what I use. Night shift, we talked about that earlier. What night shift does is make all the colors on your computer warmer to make that transition to going to sleep easier. Once again, this isn't something I want to happen, have my color temperature change on my computer because I'm usually color balancing images. But a lot of people do like this feature, and this is something that you could turn on and configure in this location. Right here, Sidecar. Now, I'm not using Sidecar. This is basically when you connect an iPad or a phone and use that with something like an Apple Pencil. So this configures the Sidecar. So this is your Sidecar. I could make this go on top and it's going to change it to there. The sidebar is going to be either here or on this location. I don't have anything connected, so you're not going to see that. Energy saver. This is an iMac, so you will only see one of these little sliders. If you have something with a battery, you're going to see two. One for power adapter and one for battery. What this allows you to do is slide this, and basically I'm having my computer go to sleep after I haven't used it for 15 minutes. So if I walk away for a half an hour, it's automatically going to put the computer to sleep at 15 minutes. You can do this in any amount of time. You just slide this little slider, or you could go all the way to the right and put it at never. Prevent computer from sleeping automatically when this display is off. You can tick that. Put hard disk to sleep when possible. I have that. Wake for network access. Definitely want that. Start up automatically after a power failure. I don't have mine turned on, but if you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. Enable power nap. So all this stuff is important, and you can see right here what a power nap does. And if you want to go back to defaults, you just click right there, or you can schedule this, for certain times. Date and time, simple. Different way to set up your date and time. Date and time, it's really simple. Date, time, time clock, any of that stuff, you can just set it up. There's not a lot of different changes there. We're going to go ahead and come back down to sharing. So sharing, and if you don't understand what this is, don't worry about it, but it's going to allow you to share different things or aspects of your computer. So if you want to share your screen with somebody, you can do that here. If you want to be able to share your files with somebody on another computer, you can do that here. Any of that sharing is going to be located right here. Most people aren't going to have any idea how to set that up, especially if they're new to a computer, but this is where that's going to be done. And mine is set up for printer sharing. Hey, this was set up automatically when I installed the printer. This isn't something that I had to come here and turn on. So time machine, this allows you to back up your computer. So I have an external hard drive. I've selected that as my time machine backup. And every day or every week, whenever you tell it to, it's going to back up your computer system. So if your hard drive was to crash and you installed a new hard drive in your computer, you could use Time Machine Backup to back up your computer to the exact point just before when your computer crashed. Also, if you install new software or new operating system and it's causing problems, you can go back in time. You can use Time Machine to go back in time and install from the previous either operating system or program that was causing you problems. It's just really easy and a great option to have. The next thing we have is Startup Disk. This isn't something that 99% of anybody's going to change. This is just showing you your startup disk. If you do need to change your startup disk, most likely you're already going to know how to do this. And down here are going to be extensions. So in this case, I'm using Backblaze, which backs up my computer and hard drives to a cloud. And I simply love this program or company. It's got unlimited data that you can back up as many hard drives that are connected to your computer. And it's like $6 or $7 a month. It's definitely worth it. If you do have any other extensions, they're going to show up here. So if you're using something like a Wacom tablet that has some system preferences, you'll see a little Wacom thing, and it will allow you to go in here and configure that different Wacom tablet. Well, that's it for system preferences. I hope you've enjoyed this series and learned a little bit about the Mac operating system and how to use your computer. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions, you can leave those down below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe.